A very warm welcome to my listeners and viewers. And as Nicholas Parsons used to say on Just a Minute, here in England, the UK and throughout the world. Today we're off in search of the past, and yet we're riding in the present, and there'll be a little nod to the future of this channel and what we'll be doing. So we're actually looking for a little bit of snow. We've had rain overnight and some sunshine, and that's managed to get the snow off the roads themselves, although they're rather wet. And we've got a car coming up here, and I think he's going to reverse for us. What a kind man. It would have been a bit of a squeeze there, wouldn't it? Both of us trying to get through that little gap. Now this little road is going to take us to Barbondale. We've ridden here in the past in the sunshine. This is the first time that the hunter in the form of Spitfire has been this way, so it's all new. And normally we take a left here. However, we know now, looking at the map, that just across the road there, that will lead us onto a Roman road. So that's a little bit of the past. And here in the north of England, we've only just got to look around and we see the past everywhere, don't we? Which is true, of course, of anywhere. Look hard enough, you can see the past, wherever you live. We're just going over a dismantled railway, so it's a little bit of past there. And that used to be the line that ran from Ingleton up to Sedbergh. There's some remaining snow there. It was obviously fairly deeply drifted along here. We filled this little lane was probably completely covered in snow. No one could get out. Right, so now we're coming up to the Roman road, to the left and the right. We're going to go left, and we're going to follow that little Roman road up to the almost to the village of Barbon, but not quite. The Spitfire is running absolutely beautifully. It's not too cold today, I have to say. We've had this rain and it's warmed things up a bit, and that's why I haven't been out. It's just been far too cold for me. But today, I mean, I did about, overall it would have been about 80 miles. You won't be seeing all of that. And my hands didn't get cold. I felt a little bit of wind chill on the way back because the wind is behind us as we're running up here. And coming back, it was very blustery, and I did feel some wind chill on my my upper body. But that was all. And very comfortable, I must say. I'm really pleased with the way that the hunter feels to ride. No aches and pains, no problems whatsoever. And that's been lovely, because the meter did used to give me some chest ache and backache. But hunter doesn't. So normally we would have come out of there had we gone the other route. I'm just going to go up onto the footrest here, a bit bumpy. And now that's a nice feature you can do on the Spitfire. You can get up onto those footrests very easily. And if you just have a look on the left-hand side, you can see the course of that dismantled railway and that lovely railway bridge that's still intact. I'm just going to stop for a quick look. And this is one of the things that we'll be doing a lot of, is stopping and looking and walking and having an explore, because after all this is Lane's Explorer, and we won't be exploring this, isn't it? We can often walk for a bit. So we just come up to the junction here, and we're going to go off towards Barbondale. We've avoided the little village of Barbon, and we have been through that a couple of times in the summer, which was very pleasant, and we shall do that again. Now, despite the fact that it is March, early March, and we've had snow, it's actually quite bright. It's quite misty, as you can see over on the fells, much higher up. And I was getting a bit concerned at this point. Was I going to run into deep snow drifts and that sort of thing? But fear not, we don't run into any of those sort of things. And we're going to head on. When we get through Barbondale, we're going to run into Dentdale, an absolutely lovely little dale, and we're actually going to go into the village of Dent. That'll be in part 2. This is part 1. Because it's quite a long run, this is actually almost 29 minutes, this part 1. So I hope you're able to stay with the whole of this ride. If not, then thank you for watching so far. But there are some interesting bits coming along, and I might even tell a little story. Oh, that'll put you off. I shouldn't have said that, should I? Yes, as we ride along Barbondale, I think I might give you a little bit of a story. But if you like stories, stay for that, and if you don't like them, you can skip that part, can't you, and meet us at the end of Barbondale. So it's probably best I did warn you. Now, I actually love these little lanes, as you know, and this one in particular I enjoy. I enjoyed this whole ride, and the second part does in fact go through an entirely different part, the part I've not explored before, and that involves 2 gates I have to open and push through. So we're just climbing now up towards the cattle grid, a bit further along. I've no need for a map because I know the area quite well now, got quite used to it. Now, by now you would have noticed the green dot has returned. There's a huge demand for that green dot. Well, I think there were 3 of you wanted to see it, so it was quite useful. And but it's been joined now, of course, with a yellow dot, just to add a little bit of colour and variety. So here we are, here's our cattle grid, and we're just going up onto the Barbondale now, and these are the Barbon Fells. Lovely open run. Very little traffic, just 1 or 2 vehicles along here. People out for a walk with their dog, just up here. And they've parked their camper van just over on the right hand side. Lovely views over to the left, and you can see some snow lying in the fields there. And some snow up on the higher fells in front of us. This is also the first time that we've ridden this route with the new camera position on my chest, and I still haven't quite got rid of the little clacking noise from it, which irritates me, because I did attach the bit I thought was moving firmly, so obviously it wasn't entirely that. There must be something else moving there. The trouble is the microphone picks all this up very easily. However, fear not, I shall persevere. I never give up. To call me Peter Perseverance. That was me. Caught a glimpse of me in the mirror there. It's a treat. So we're now heading off towards Beck, which will be over on our left. I'm going to pull in here with this car coming towards me. Right, he's safely passed, so we're going to carry on our way. You can see it's getting a little bit mistier now as we head towards Sedbergh, Dent. You can just see now the snow lying down in the fields there, and we're not that far off Barb Beck. I think in winter with the mist like this there's something quite ethereal, it's almost surreal about the landscape. It is for me anyway. I know I've got rather a vivid imagination. A lovely little road snaking off down there. Grey ribbon. That's the bracken. I say beautiful, I think. Oh, the joys of being on the motorcycle. Just going over the little bridge there. I'm just going to pull in here for a moment. And just ahead of us, so you can just see it over on the right hand side there, that's Barb Beck. Hop off, have a little look. There we are. Look around us. Barb and the High Fell up over there. We'll just get back on again, get her started. And I won't say chocks away. Oh, I just have. Sorry for that. Just couldn't resist it. I probably should have done. And away we go. Oh no, we're not. Not quite there yet. Now we are. So we follow Barb and Beck all the way along this this dale. Footbridge over for those that want to walk up on the fell. Yes, it must have been quite something when this is all covered in snow. Impassable, I would think. And that was only a few days ago. Yes, I was going to tell you a little story. Now we're past the little footbridge, I thought we'd have that little story. And you will remember that I had that little mobilette moped, which I sold to Mr. Nobbs of Fratton. I didn't know anything more about him than that was his name, Mr. Nobbs, and he came from Fratton. I was extremely naive. I was just at 16 and a half when I decided to sell it. I put the advertisement in the local newspaper, Portsmouth newspaper, and nobody came. I thought, oh, that's it, I'm not going to sell it. I had it down for £10, and so £10 in old money, no different to £10 in new money, except it bought you a bit more in those days. We're talking about the mid 1960s. So anyway, knock at the door. I had just had the engine stripped down yet again, and was just polishing the filed down bits on the piston crowns, thinking that might make it go a little bit faster. And I've just reassembled it, and there was a knock on the door, and chap said, "Oh, have you got you've got a moped for sale, I think?" And I said, "Yes, I have." I thought, "Blimey, phew! I've just got it back together again in time. When are we going to start?" So, but he came through to the garden where it was, and started it up. It did start up, thankfully, and he had a couple of runs across the grass on it. It wasn't a very big bit of grass, but anyway, there were a couple of runs across the grass on it, and he said, "Oh yeah, that's fine." I thought, good for that. I actually had on it, the insurance I had was cost me 30 shillings. 30 in pound shillings and I do miss pound shillings and pence, do you? Oh, those were the days. Yes, 1960s, eh? We thought it would all everything to live for wasn't there in the 1960s, it seemed. Still, anyway, getting back to the story. Yes, 30 shillings, which is £1.50 in the new money, and that enabled me to allow any other rider to ride the moped. It was only third party, I don't even think it was third party fire and theft, it was third party, and I actually gave him the certificate, thinking to myself, well, you can have the certificate as well, and you won't have to buy any insurance. Oh dear, the naivety of me. Yes, so anyway, off he rode with it, and I didn't have any documentation about who he was, so I gave him the logbook, wasn't able to inform the licensing authority that it was now sold. Fortunately, I didn't get any comebacks on it. He just rode away, and that was it. I never saw it again. So with that money, I was able to buy my first motorcycle. And that first motorcycle was an Aerial Colt. The Aerial Colt was a 200cc version of the BSA C11G, which was a 250, and it was plunger rear suspension, no damping on it. And plunger rear suspension was a sort of interim between rigid and swing arm suspension, like these lovely Hunters have. And it had its drawbacks, a lot of them. It didn't handle terribly well, that bike, partly because it had been in a front end shunt at some time. I was about the third or fourth owner. It was a 1957 model, and this was the mid 60s, and it had a fairly hard life, I see now. But yes, it had a collision at the front end, which had meant that the frame was slightly pushed back, so the steering was a bit more upright than it should have been, which didn't feel too bad when I first got it, because I didn't know what to expect. But later on, I looked at the side view and thought, no, it doesn't look quite right. Also, it affected the front brake, so instead of being a nice smooth operation, it sort of juddered when you put it on, and it never did stop terribly well. Neither brakes were very effective, and they really cut the cost on that Aerial Colt with the electrics. although it was made by BSA, just a badge name aerial by then, and they cut the cost by not using Lucas, which was the more accepted electrics on these motorcycles of the day, but it was YPAC, Wyco Pacey, and it was absolutely awful electrics on that. Very, very shoddy stuff. Still, it got me around, and my first ride on that I remember very distinctly, and I set off from home just up the road, and there was a left-hand bend, a tight just turn into a road, and I turned down there. I was going too fast, and I went straight across the road up on the curb on the pavement on the other side. Oh goodness me, against the wall. I didn't actually hit the wall, but only just avoided it. So yes, my introduction to motorcycling. I've been round that corner many times on a bicycle and on my moped, but obviously much more slowly. Still, I survived to tell the tale. Now we're going to stop here for a moment and have a little look up this through this gate. Open gateway. As you can see, the red handkerchief is making an appearance there. Well, yes, we're ready to go again, and off we go. So yes, I did ride that aerial colt an awful lot, back to college and back again, and unfortunately it had a hard life, and the kickstart shaft on it was worn, and someone had drilled a hole at right angles along the shaft and put a bolt in there to stop the kickstart from turning on the shaft. Well, that was okay for about a month, but eventually it just gave up, and so I had no kickstart, so I had to do a run and bump all the time, which I got used to that actually. I only went over the top a couple of times, ended up in a heap on the other side of the bike, with the bike lying in the road. But I realised this wasn't going to be any good if I was wanting to take my test. I think the examiner would take a rather dim view if he saw me running down the road with it and bump starting it. So I've got to do something here. The gearbox was a separate gearbox on these machines, made by Berman, and they made superb gearboxes, but not this one. It was another cheap job, I think, and the mechanism inside that had also failed, so I had to then source a replacement part, which I did actually manage to do. A bloke called Harry Martin down in Lake Road in Portsmouth, he had one, amazingly enough, and he wasn't a particularly nice man, I must say. He was full of oaths, which I'm not, and yeah, so it wasn't a nice experience buying anything from him. I only went in there once just to buy that. But anyway, did have it. Very steep hill here, so hold on to your hats. It's I think 1 in 5. And I fitted that, and it had obviously a new shaft as well, and clamped up the Kickstarter, and got through my test, and rode it to college and work, as I said. and someone at college said, "Oh, I've got a friend. He's looking for a nice machine." I thought, "Oh, is he? Well, he better not have this one then." No, he said, "Oh, no, that'd be ideal for him. What do you want for it? Are you thinking of selling it?" So I thought, "Well, yeah, why not?" So I did sell it, and but it went on all right for him. It was fine. And with the money from that, I got or put a down payment on a Royal Enfield Crusader Sports. So yes, a real sporty machine. Now we're just coming into the little village of Gawthrop, and we're going to have a little walk around. Just have a little wander around the village of Gawthrop. Not far, but you'll see more of it as we set off from here. This is Gawthrop. 3/4 of a mile to Dent. Oh, we're back again then. These little walk-arounds do get better, trust me. Early days. Right, just going to ride off through the little village and on towards Dent. Right, we're just going to come up to the more major road, and when we go to there we're going to stop, and that'll be the end of this part. In the second part we ride on towards Dent and have a little look at Dent village, a little walk around there. So I hope you've enjoyed this slight change to the way I do things, and if you've managed to get this far, then well done. It's been quite a long one. Lovely misty view across there. Very isolated down here. So here's our major road, and we're going to go off to the right, and I'll see you again soon for part 2, I hope.